Alright, so very good evening to everyone. Tonight is the second lesson on this topic, the art of non-violence. So actually continuing from the slides from previously. So in the first lesson, or in the previous lesson, we talked about some of the essential key Buddhist teachings on non-violence. We showed some examples of violence, and we also talked about the kinds of Buddhist practitioners that still resort to anger. Yes, Sharon, you raised your hand.
Bhante, may we start the recording now?
Oh, yes, okay.
Thank
Thought you recorded already. Okay, good evening, one and all. I don't think I have to repeat what I said, but we are starting the second lesson. So Sharon or whoever, feel free to show the slides. So while they are uploading, I'll just maybe...
You want the slides for the second talk or the first?
No, first one, continue, yeah. And you can prepare the second one if you want. There's the first one finishing. So in the previous lesson, we covered some of the teachings that discourage violence. Talk about karma, talk about the Noble Eightfold Path, and we talked about which are the people that can get angry. And importantly, when we talk about the stages of sainthood, the different holy people from stream entry onwards, then these are the people who will not break the precepts and they will not intentionally kill. So how to know who has reached stream entry? So that's the question, because nowadays there are so many schools of Buddhism. Then everyone claims their method is correct, other school their syllabus wrong, then everyone has their own benchmark. So I'm going to use some early Buddhist scriptures. So this one can be found in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. So discarding the theological understanding or what type of meditation routine you're doing, this will be the bare minimum requirement for a practitioner to do in order to sort of at least consider themselves to be like a stream enterer or a holy person. And so these are the people who will not break the precepts, they will not be reborn in the lower realms. So confirm, at least a stream enterer, they will be reborn human realm or higher. Okay, so I'll just briefly read through. Therefore, Ananda, I will give you the teaching called the mirror of the Dhamma. So what is this mirror of the Dhamma? Before the Buddha gave this teaching, when he was still healthy and young, and lots of people will come to him and give him this question, pose him questions, ask him, hey, your this so-and-so disciple passed away already, or this so-and-so disciple, which realm are they reborn in, or what kind of attainment they have reached. So the Buddha will entertain those questions, and the Buddha will tell them, this person born in this heaven, or this person born in hell, this person has reached stream entry, and so on. This person has reached an arahant. So the Buddha will entertain those questions. So as he gets older, about to pass away, he kind of like, nobody to certify, right? So you kind of have to check your own self. So the Buddha gave this teaching called Mirror of the Dhamma. So it's basically your own checklist. Okay, so what is this checklist about? So I continue reading. Possessing which the noble disciple, should he so desire, can declare of himself, there is no more rebirth for me in hell, nor as an animal or ghost, nor in any realm of woe. A stream enterer am I, save for falling into the states of misery, assured, and I am bound for enlightenment. Assured am I and bound for enlightenment. So how to be confident to know that you have reached a certain state of practice or realization. Okay, so this is like the checklist. And what Ananda is the teaching called the mirror of Dhamma, possessing which the noble disciple may thus declare of himself. Okay, next slide. In this case, Ananda, the noble disciple, possesses unwavering faith in the Buddha. So basically the first criteria, total there are 4 criteria. So the first criteria, a person, if you're Buddhist, you should have unwavering faith in the Buddha, unshakable faith in the Buddha. So basically you need to know at least the qualities of the Buddha. So the standard formula in the suttas will mention this. The Blessed One is an Arahant, the fully enlightened one, perfect in knowledge and conduct, the Happy One, the knower of the world, the paramount trainer of beings, the teacher of gods and men, the enlightened one, the Blessed One. So you need to have some proper understanding of the Buddha, not the Buddha as some powerful God somewhere, and or we watch too much drama show, we shoot the Buddha palm at the monkey god and stuff like that. So the Buddha represents these qualities. So the next understanding, he possesses unwavering faith in the Dhamma. So that's the second criteria. Well propounded by the Blessed One is the Dhamma, evident, timeless, inviting investigation, leading to emancipation, to be comprehended by the wise, each for himself or herself. So basically, a person needs to put the Dhamma into practice and put the teachings into practice and experience some kind of emancipation, some form of inner peace or inner happiness. Then you have certain confidence to say, okay, this teaching works. If not, if you just chant, then it's basically like lip service. Okay, next. So the third criteria, he possesses unwavering faith in the Blessed One's order of disciples. Thus, so the third criteria is having faith in the Sangha. So what are the Sangha? Well-faring is the Blessed One's order of disciples, righteously, wisely and dutifully. That is to say, the 4 pairs of men, the 8 classes of persons. So we covered the 4 pairs of men, basically the 4 stages of sainthood, the stream enterer, you have the once returner, non-returner, arahant. These are the 4 pairs of men, the 8 classes of person. So times 2, like 4 times 2, you have a path and a fruition for stream enterer, path and a fruition for once returner, path and fruition for a non-returner, and path and fruition for an arahant. So total that makes 8. The Blessed One's order of disciples is worthy of honor, of hospitality, of offerings, of veneration, the supreme field for meritorious deeds in the world. So when a person make offering to the Sangha, you have to think of these 4 pairs of qualities, 4 pairs of holy beings. It's not the physical person that wearing robes. So the physical person wearing robes, we are just the representative. We are just the representative. So when a person make offerings or pay respects, it's actually to the qualities of enlightenment. Okay, and the 4th criteria, and he possesses virtues that are dear to the noble ones, complete and perfect, spotless and pure, which are liberating, praised by the wise, uninfluenced by worldly concerns, and favorable to concentration of mind. So these virtues, we call it the precepts. So earlier on we chanted the precepts, or at least hopefully you read the translation. So basically it's to refrain from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, telling lies, and the intoxicating drinks and drugs. So these are the 5 precepts at least a layperson should follow. So if a person observe these virtues or these precepts, moral guidelines, and they are pure, that means there's no intention to kill, no intention to steal, that means you never break those precepts, then basically you're fulfilling the fourth criteria. So this is a benchmark. A person can spout lots of theoretical, profound teachings, but if you observe the way they behave, they may not observe the precepts, they break the precepts, tell lies and so on, then basically they don't walk the talk. Theoretical knowledge is one thing, how you apply and live the Dhamma, how you put it in practice is another thing. So if you put the teachings in practice, the result should show, at least through behavior, that a person won't break the precepts. So this is actually the fourth criteria. So that's like the physical kind of benchmark. So these are the four criteria. We'll talk more on the precepts on future lesson. Okay, next. Okay, so you can load up the second PowerPoint. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, do ask them at any point of time. Don't have to wait until the end. And you cannot remember what I've spoken, or whatever I've spoken is too profound, you can feel free to give me a stop. Okay, so the continuation, the next issue is the fight or flight instinct. So in Buddhism, when we face hostility, what should we do? Should we fight or run away? So we do a vote. So in the screen, right, your Zoom screen, and there's a reaction button. There's an option called react. So there's a few react. So if you think we face hostility, we should defend ourselves, then you put this clapping sign, defend ourselves. If you think you should run away from danger, then you put the thumbs up sign. Okay, so in 3, 2, 1, go. Or all run away. So quite a number of pacifists. Then the rest not sure. You face problem, then you just stay there, don't know what to do. If someone hostile sort of approach you, let's say they take a weapon and approach you, what should you do? No answer. Okay. So today we'll cover this topic. Hopefully I provide a few scenarios, and eventually we can come to our own conclusion, because everybody has different conditions. I would say sometimes we might face different scenarios, and at least you have the information and you can weigh for yourself. Okay, so the next slide. Okay, so so sometimes in Buddhism we think that, okay, if you practice well, you should be fearless. Not necessarily true. There's also circular fearlessness. That means a person may not be interested in spiritual practice. They're not interested in liberation or doing good or something wholesome. They have fearlessness for various issues. For example, extreme sports. They maybe jump down from high cliffs or parachute from or skydiving from high altitudes, and they enjoy such activities. So these are one kind of mundane fearlessness. And the second picture, it's a movie poster, but the case in point, or the kind of case study, is soldiers. If people going for battle, they're battle frenzy, or they enjoy going to battle, so they kind of temporary kind of distract their mind from the fear. So some people enjoy such thing, or they enjoy fighting. And the third one would be approaching dangerous animals. So some people may think, if you are a meditator or you're a forest monk, you should be very close to dangerous animals. You meditate, and these dangerous animals should be friendly. You become like the Lion King or like Tarzan. These animals approach you, and nothing will go wrong. Okay, so let's see what the Buddha teaches on such kind of incidents. Okay, next slide. Okay, so regarding fear, sometimes even noble disciples, that means a person who reached stream entry, that means the first level of sainthood, a stream enterer, also have fear. So there's this case of this person called Mahanama. So Mahanama, if I'm not wrong, could be like the general of the Sakyan clan. So after the Buddha's father, the king Suddhodana, passed away, this general Mahanama took over and became the king of the Sakyan clan. So the Buddha gave him teaching several times, how to practice, even you're busy at work or at home with your family, playing with children, how to do certain recollections, recollect the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, his precepts, his charitable deeds, and contemplation of Deva qualities. So after these teachings, it is believed that he became a stream enterer. So what happened was, he met an accident or near accident. He was riding on a carriage, and the carriage swerved sharply in one corner, and he almost have this fear that he might fall off and die and stuff like that. And so I'll just read out the script. So Mahanama related this incident to the Buddha. At times like that, fear, my mindfulness with regard to the Blessed One gets muddled. My mindfulness with regard to the Dhamma, the Sangha, gets muddled. The thought occurs to me, if I were to die at this moment, what would be my destination? What would be my future course? He's not sure, where will he be reborn? They have this uncertainty. So the Buddha replied to him, have no fear, Mahanama. Have no fear. Your death will not be a bad one. Your demise will not be bad. A disciple of the noble ones. So the Buddha is indirectly giving him a hint, you are a noble disciple already. So at least he's a stream enterer. So a stream enterer may not know he's a stream enterer. He may not know that in future, which realm, not confident, So the Buddha tells him, when endowed with four qualities, which we mentioned earlier in the mirror of the Dhamma, leans toward unbinding, slants towards unbinding, inclines toward unbinding. Right, so this will be very true. If you want to talk about Dhamma being the truth, so this will apply all across the board, in whatever time, whatever geography. If there's no Buddhist teaching, if a person is generally wholesome, they may not have the Buddhist theoretical knowledge, they're very wholesome, they're very righteous, then basically they can be qualified a stream enterer, or a path leading to a stream enterer. So they will not be reborn in the lower realms. Okay, next. Okay, so regarding to danger, dangerous places and people, what's the Buddha's advice? So you can find this in this Sabbasava Sutta. Sabbasava Sutta is basically a kind of reflection to apply in all scenarios. So with some people, they will tell you, when they sit down, then they can meditate. Once they stand up, no time to meditate anymore. So meditation is not about sitting down and follow the Buddha statue posture, So meditation or reflection happens in all scenarios, even when you're planning and worrying. And that also can be treated as a contemplation. So when you are planning and worrying, for example, situations of danger, or planning where to go, these are some of the reflections. Reflecting appropriately avoids a wild elephant, a wild horse, a wild bull, a wild dog, a snake. So the Buddha encouraged the forest practitioners to avoid wild animals. So some people might hear story of some famous monk, or can touch the cobra, can touch the wild elephant, or some people want to follow the Buddha story, and the elephant charged at him, then want to touch the elephant and stop the elephant. No, because we are not the Buddha. Buddha can stop the elephant. There are some news report in Sri Lanka. The monk was crushed by the wild elephant just because they maybe attempt to do what the Buddha did. So we are not the Buddha, so please don't do it. Or unless you are a professional animal whisperer, you know animal psychology, you know how the animal communicate, what are the danger signs, and what to behave and so on towards the animal, then it might be a different case. So again, that would be the mundane skill set. Okay, then the next one, avoid dangerous places. A stump, a bramble patch, a chasm, a cliff, a cesspool, and open sewer. Reflecting appropriately, he avoids sitting in the sorts of unsuitable seats. So basically these are the 8 precepts and higher. So avoid luxurious seats. That means the seats which are too maybe too expensive or too high class, or too high, the seats. Wandering to the sorts of unsuitable habitats. So we'll talk more on what are the unsuitable habitats. And associating with sorts of bad friends. So the Buddha mentioned bad friends or unwholesome people, you should avoid them. That would make his knowledgeable friends in the holy life suspect him of evil conduct. So we'll talk more on the underlying terms and what are these unsuitable habitats and bad friends. So the first 2 points very straightforward. Any danger, physically visible danger, you can avoid. The next one maybe need more explanation. Okay, next one. So you can find these unsuitable habitats in the Sigalovada Sutta. Sigalovada Sutta is the teachings for layperson how to conduct their life, or even financial planning, how to plan your finances, how to save your expenses. So interestingly, the Buddha mentioned these are some of the things which will make you lose money. So New Year, right? Some people wish you wish to have good fortune and wealth. So the Buddha actually teach you how to accumulate wealth or how to increase your wealth. So praying is one thing, but you should apply the teachings. Okay, so the first point, how to lose your wealth, dissipating wealth. First point, indulgence in intoxicants, which cause infatuation and heedlessness. So if a person is addicted to alcohol or any kind of bad substances, and that would be their economic downfall, draining their economy. And the second criteria, second point, sauntering in streets at unseemly hours. So that would be the unsuitable habitat. So if you like to stay up late nights at wandering around in the streets rather than at home, then you kind of would probably need to spend more. Because you're thirsty, you need to buy a drink, or you need to use certain facilities, then you need to spend. So that would waste your resources. And the third point, frequenting theatrical shows. So those who like to go for entertainment, concerts, nightclub or movies. So all these are addiction to entertainment. So for layperson, if you're observing 5 precepts once in a while should be okay. But if you do it too frequently, the human hormones, I'm not sure which hormone would that be, maybe the endorphins or whatever, will get certain tolerance level, and the body will build up certain tolerance. You watch the same entertainment again, or the same quality of entertainment again, you won't be entertained anymore. So that would be the problem, addiction. The fourth one, indulgence in gambling, which causes heedlessness. So the same thing, Buddhism don't encourage gambling. Gambling and drinking is a vice. So if a person does such things, then they will lose their wealth. And the fifth one, association with evil companions. And the sixth one, habit of idleness. Yeah, so these are the things which will lose your wealth. Okay, next. Association with evil companions. So this one can also part of the Theravada Sutta. So these are the people you should avoid, or if you can identify through the actions or their speech or behavior, then you should avoid them. So the first one, gambler. Second one, libertine. Third one, drunkard. Fourth one, swindler. Fifth one, cheat. And the sixth one, rowdy person. Maybe like a hooligan or gangster. So a cheat is basically talking about someone who is unfaithful to their spouse or partner. And the fourth one is a con person. So these are things or people you should avoid. So Buddhism doesn't talk about, everyone should have equal treatment. No, the Buddha talks about discernment. You should differentiate them. But yeah, in meditation we wish all beings well and happy. But conventional setting, we should learn to avoid such people. Okay, next. Okay, so regarding defending, so we talk about fight or flight instinct. So we talk about avoiding. Then the Buddha also teach about defending. So the same sutta, Sigalovada Sutta. How could you consider yourself to be a good friend? Or how do you know others can be a good friend to you? So one of the qualities is actually mentioned here. 4 qualities of a good friend. You don't have to have all 4, but at least one of the 4. But if you have all 4, then excellent. Okay, so these are the 4 qualities of a warm-hearted friend. Yeah, this helpmate. So the Buddha identify a few types of good friends. One could be a counselor. One could be a person who goes through hardships and ups and downs with you. And one of them is this helpmate. Okay, so this helpmate, he guards the heedless. So he protects you. He protects the wealth of the heedless. He becomes a refuge when you are in danger. When there are commitments, he provides you with double the supply needed. So this is a friend who will stand up for you. Okay, so these are the qualities of a helpmate. Okay, next. Okay, so now regarding self-defense or fighting, I think someone asked a question in a previous session, how about self-defense? If somebody were to attack you, should you just let the person, attack me lah, let him whack lah. If let's say you're in an enclosed space, you cannot run, how? If you can run, good lah, run. But if you cannot run, how? Then interestingly, in the monastic rule, there's an allowance for self-defense. So these are monastic rule for monks. So if monks can do it, it's snowballed down to lay person. So basically, it's just a reference for you, but you can choose to be a pacifist. If somebody attack you, if let's say your practice is so good, you can choose not to react even, then good for you. But if let's say you want to defend yourself, you have all the right. Then down here, the precept in this particular segment is called the Pachitiya. Giving a blow to another bhikkhu, that means if you hit another monk when impelled by anger, is an offense, unless in self-defense. So in the Buddha's time, a monk can beat monk, So not just in the previous lesson we showed the video, the monks like punching each other. In the Buddha's time also have already. Okay, so unless it's self-defense. Then the next one, making a threatening gesture against another monastic when impelled by anger, except in self-defense, is a offense, pachitya offense. So these two are the rules that talks about self-defense being an exception. So let's look at how far this self-defense goes. Next slide. So the Vibhanga is actually the analysis of this precept. So what do you mean by blow? What do you mean by hit another monastic? So they define even a feather or a leaf that you're angry, right? You just not happy, then you just use a bookmark to just hit the person. Also considered offense. So basically Buddhism supposed a very gentle religion. So you cannot attack or injure another person out of anger. Okay, but exclusion will be the second point. There is no offense for a bhikkhu, bhikkhu means monk, who trapped in a difficult situation gives a blow, desiring freedom. Okay, so the commentary's discussion of this point shows the inclusion of what we present would call self-defense. So this is where self-defense comes in. And there are some martial arts style that claims to be derived from Buddhism. You can search that up. I think some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff like that that comes from this Buddhism or Buddhist philosophy. Okay, next. Okay, so how did the Buddha and the Arahants defend themselves? So there's like a popular story. If you look at the picture here, this wild drunkard elephant that charged the Buddha, we talk about it earlier. So there was an attempt by this Devadatta, is a monk that want to kill the Buddha. So he set off this military military elephant against the Buddha by making the elephant drunk and then releasing the gates and letting him charge to a narrow street heading towards the Buddha. So according to some traditional accounts, some stories, the Buddha was accompanied by a group of monks. The monks was like wanting to run away. Or in the Mahayana edition, the so-called Arahants flew away, escaped, and the Buddha is left there standing alone. So there's this monk, Venerable Ananda. Venerable Ananda is not an Arahant yet at that time. He's only a stream enterer, but he's the one that tried to stand in front of the Buddha, try to block the Buddha from this elephant, while the rest of the monks sort of fled. So this is how the monks, how the Buddha and the monks sort of reacted to danger. But of course, you might give excuse that the Buddha teach you should avoid wild elephant, so the monks all run away lah. See the elephant run away. So the Buddha actually managed to tame this this drunkard elephant by radiating loving kindness. So the Buddha already perfected loving kindness. So for us, we are not at this level, so please do not try it. If you see this drunkard wild animal, the first thing you should do is avoid. So follow the rest of the monks, avoid first. Okay, next. Next slide. Okay, so earlier on we talked about self-defense, but in terms of mental training, we talk about non-self-defense. Non-self means if a person actualizes non-self, that means a person already becomes selfless. If a person becomes selfless, then they might not even want to defend themselves. No self to defend already. So this is the teaching. So the Buddha actually taught this monk, Venerable Punna. I'll just briefly read the script. Forms cognizable via the eye. Agreeable, pleasing, charming, endearing, fostering the desire, enticing. If a monk relishes them, that means you cling onto them, you entertain them, you welcome them, remain fastened to them, then in him, relishing, welcoming, remain fastened to them, there arises delight. From origination of delight, I tell you, comes origination of suffering and stress. So it's a bit of dependent origination here. So whatever you see, hear, smell, think, and taste and touch, maybe nice, show, very entertaining, you like the pictures, the diagrams, the colors, you develop greed. Anything you don't like, anything ugly, you develop anger. So that's actually promoting, fueling, craving. So when you have craving, then you will suffer. You result in suffering. And then the second point, whatever you see, hear, smell, think, taste, and touch, if you do not relish them, do not welcome them, do not cling on to them, do not fasten to them. And if you do not do that, then no suffering. So that's the second point. Right? So then you might be thinking, how to don't cling, how to don't react with greed and anger. So that is where the Noble Eightfold Path comes in, which we talked in the previous lesson. You need to keep applying right thought. Need to keep reflecting thoughts of goodwill, thoughts of non-anger, thoughts of non-greed. Keep generating right effort. Then that's how you lower greed and anger, lower craving. Okay, next. Okay, then the Buddha taught this monk how to reflect. Then what do you think, monk? Do you regard that the I is not mine, this is not myself, this is not what I am? Yes, Lord. So basically, this Venerable Buddha has sort of grasped the idea of the concept of non-self, not yet enlightened, but at least he can apply and understand to a certain degree. Then the Buddha said, very good, monk. When it is well seen by you with right discernment that the I is not mine, not self, not what I am, the first fear of contact will be abandoned by you for the sake of no further becoming in future. Yeah, that means no more ego, no more personality will appear. So in future, I'll talk more on dependent origination in later lessons a bit in detail. But if you want to know more, you can check for past lessons in Dhammayut's YouTube playlist. In my playlist, there is a topic on dependent origination. You can check that out. Well then, Punna, when that I have instructed you with a brief instruction, in which country are you going to live? So in the Buddha's time, sometimes the Buddha won't give very detailed instruction until you reach enlightenment. No? So like in this Venerable Punna's case, the Buddha kind of know, okay, I just give you this simple instruction. He knows that this monk will practice on his own and reach enlightenment. So the Buddha will ask him, now where will you go and practice? So this Venerable Punna replied, Lord, there's a country called Sunaparanta. I'm going to live there. Okay, next slide. So the Buddha asked this Venerable Punna, the Sunaparanta people are fierce, they are rough. If they insult and ridicule you, what will you think? So in the past, in the Buddha's time, at least in the geopolitical context, the whole region at least have 7 or more kingdoms, and they are fighting with each other. So that is the situation. So very hostile environment. So certain regions can be very hostile, sometimes lots of bandit. And for those who know the story of Venerable Angulimala, people can go around a killing spree, kill like 900 over people and still not yet get arrested. So this is the issue in India last time. Okay, so if they insult and ridicule you, what will you do? Then this Venerable Punna replied, if they insult and ridicule me, I will think, these Sunaparanta people are civilized, very civilized, in that they don't hit me with their hands. That is what I will think, O Blessed One. That is what I will think, O One well gone. So Blessed One and well gone refers to the Buddha. So he has very low expectation. So if somebody insult him, he will be thinking, I'll be very fortunate not to get beaten up by them. Then the Buddha gave another scenario. But what if they hit you in the hands? What will you do? Then this fellow will again use his very low expectation reply. I will think, these Sunaparanta people are very civilized because they never hit me with a clod. And what if they hit you with a clod? Then again, lower expectation. They are very civilized people, they don't hit me with a stick. Okay, next slide. Previous. And what if they hit you with a stick? The Buddha asked him, what if they hit you with a stick, how? Then they will think, okay, they are very civilized, at least they don't hit me with a knife. Then the Buddha asked, further probe him, and what if they hit you with a knife, how? Then this monk replied, if these people attack me with a knife, I will be thinking, I'm very fortunate they never kill me with the knife. So he's still okay with slash and some a bit of small stabbing as long as he's alive. Then the Buddha further probed him, but what if they kill you with the knife? They want to take your life with a knife. Then he further showed his lower expectation. So this shows how well he practiced and understood non-self. But if they take me with a sharp knife, I will think, they are disciples of the Blessed One who, horrified, humiliated, and disgusted by the body and by life, have sought for an assassin. But here I have met my assassin without searching for him. That is what I will think, O Blessed One. That is what I will think, O well gone. Okay, so this particular quote, I will give you some context. So in the Buddha's time, there's this Vesali Sutta. There's this group of monks in Vesali. They practice wrongly, the meditation. They practice these impurities of the body meditation, this human biology and anatomy of the body. They visualize until they have so much aversion to the body, so much hatred to the body that they want to get rid of it. So of course this would be like probably the early years of the Buddha's time. So they haven't formulated clearly the precepts of not killing. So these monks think, they don't want to kill themselves, so they hire assassins to kill them. The way they think very funny. So they hire assassins to kill them, to get rid of the body, to get rid of their own body. So that's what they did. So a lot of monks in this Vesali kill themselves, Basically they hire assassins to end their own life. So that was that particular incident. So this monk, Venerable Punna, told the Buddha, so at least he doesn't have to search for these assassins to kill him. That means he's willing to lay his life down for any attacker. So that is how ready he is, how much he reflects on non-self. Then the Buddha said, okay, so you pass. Then the Buddha allowed him to go and practice on his own. Okay, next. Okay, before we move on, I'm going to ask you all again, how many of you would think you would defend yourself if, let's say, you face a knife attacker? Honest answer. If you want to defend yourself, then you give yourself a clap emoji under the react icon. If you think you can be like this monk Venerable Punna, I'll let you stab me lah. Then you put this thumbs up option. Okay, so some people very practical. Well, we have a very serious practitioner with thumbs up option. Okay, so I'm going to show you a slide. For those who want to defend yourself, I'm not sure. Okay, how many of you ever learned self-defense? If you learn self-defense, put a thumbs up. Any form of martial arts or self-defense? Never. Only one person. The rest never. Okay, so I'm going to show you these few clips. It's going to tell you how practical is this weapon defense. how practical. So this actually is like a reality kind of show. They gather a few kind of martial artists, so-called expert martial artists, and put them in different scenarios, and they give them scoring system points. So later on, in the second clip, they are going to show you like on knife defense. If they're in an enclosed area, they meet attacker with a knife, a simulated attack. How well can they defend themselves? So normally in martial arts, they will teach you more like a choreographed kind of situation. The attacker will strike you from this position, then you will know how to defend in that position. But in real life scenario, it may not be that way. So we're going to watch the first clip. It's like to give you a context of what's the video about. So it's a YouTube video.
Six martial arts YouTubers from across the whole globe to compete against each other in 7 different self-defense challenges in a state-of-the-art self-defense facility to see who is the ultimate self-defense champion. So,
welcome to the Ultimate Self-Defense Championship.
Is the video clear for the rest of y'all? Clear, I can see it. Okay. Okay, then we're going to move on to the second clip. Maybe Sharon can, or Zoping can follow the timing. I mentioned the how many minute mark and the second link.
I see the guys coming out of their exhaust spent.
They just stabbed.
So they're going to give you these particular. So these 6 martial artists, some of them are black belt in karate, some of them are these
and after the
MMA
short break,
professional fighters. Yeah.
We're asked once again to wear anatomy t-shirts, and the rules of the next challenge were explained. Each participant will enter a padded room where they will be joined by a single attacker carrying a marker representing a knife. The contender will then have to defend against the knife attacker for 20 seconds 4 times in a row, each time with a new and fresh attacker. And running away will not be an option, as the space will represent a locked room where escaping is impossible. The contenders will receive points after each attempt, and if at the end of 20 seconds they will remain unscathed, they will receive 3 points each time. If there will be wounds that are not fatal, 2 points will be received. If the wounds will be deadly, 0 points will be given. And every time a contender will get wounded, a wound mark will appear on the screen. And now it is time to begin the challenge, starting with Ramsey Dude.
I wasn't feeling good. When you're not feeling good physically, it puts a huge damper over how you're feeling every other way. I go in there feeling like, screw this, I don't even care. I don't train for a knife, and they're gonna go all Jordan Chow sewing machine style. I'm gonna get lit up here, and it's gonna suck.
20 seconds starts now. And time! Ready, set, go!
I held the hand that the knife was in, thinking, all I need to do is hold you here for a couple of seconds. I don't even need to hit you. And then I feel this little on the other side. What are you doing? Oh, the marker's on the other side. You changed hands.
Hands on!
Okay, so in reality it's like that. So even in maybe the Singapore, the police, they also have certain protocols. I'm not in the police force, but I've seen some of maybe some situations. They have their own taser or their own weapon. The police will not give them certain warning, and they normally don't tackle the criminal alone. They have this. They wait for backup, more people, then they swarm the criminal. It's not one person. It's not like Hollywood movie. You can solo the criminal. Okay, what's the next timing?
You don't know. And even when it's real, you don't know. People that get stabbed report it feels like getting punched.
We could put anyone in the world in that situation and they're going to have the same results as you, probably less, to be honest. Those guys that run all those knife workshops that you've attended, they're going to end up the same way. Any of those courses, do they take it to that level?
If you do, it's usually one time. And it's a nobler participant, but not a guy who's like, this is what I do.
You may be wondering why we are asking the contenders to fight a knife attacker in a closed room, since when speaking about self-defense, most people say that you should simply run away. Unfortunately, running away isn't always an option, as you may be with your wife or child, or you may get trapped in a closed area. At the same time, while many people claim that they could defeat a knife attacker, the reality is that it is not a simple task at all, as it is clearly evident in our challenge, as none of the 4 contenders so far were able to receive any points at all, and only 2 were left to try to make a difference.
Shank tank. I was nervous about that.
I see the guys coming out of the shank tank and they're exhausted. They're just
So basically, most or all of the participants didn't score a point. That means all of them died in the simulation. Or like you can see, a lot. The first one stabbed like 10 over times, or I think the highest kind of stabbed like 20, 30 times. Okay. Then the next portion.
I'm like, I'm not gonna move from here. He's touching my helmet here. I'm like, this is not as bad as it could be. I let go of George, and in a slow motion fashion, he moves towards my neck and slashes it.
I'm not giving up.
Despite my attacker slashing my throat once I let go after the bell, I soon learned that the judges were discussing whether I survived this round.
Show them your face. This was done during, that was done after. That's a facelift. But it's not a fatal. The other 3, no question, dead. This one, that's in question. You guys have a discussion.
And after having a discussion, the judges decided that I received 2 points. And although it was a mix of skill and luck, I was still exhilarated to score points for this challenge, bringing me much closer to the top 2 contenders.
You and Sensei Seth were the big underdogs, and you guys are...
Okay, so each participant are given 4 rounds. So out of the 4 rounds, he only survived 1 round, and he got 2 points for that. So that is how difficult it is to defend yourself from a knife attacker. So of course, if you really want to defend yourself, you need another weapon longer than the knife. So this is the only way to sort of win a knife attacker. Okay, next. Okay, at this point of time, anyone have any comments or questions? The martial artists here want to say something? No? Okay. Right, so I will just continue the slide. So continue the story. Good, Puna, very good. Possessing such a calm and self-control, you are fit to dwell among the Sunaparantans. Now it is time to do as you see fit. So the Buddha is actually teaching pacifism. His ideal case should be pacifism. So for the case of monks, if let's say there are no possessions, no commitment to family, then yes, you can just afford to let them attack you and kill you even. Okay, there he lived during the rains retreat. He established 500 male and female followers in the practice, and he realized the liberation there. So it is only when he reached that rugged place, then he reached enlightenment. So before that, when the Buddha was giving, after the Buddha gave him the sermon, he wasn't enlightened. Only after he went to that town, that very rugged town, then he got enlightened. So this is a story of this Venerable Puna. So the Buddha clearly in the teachings is aiming for pacifism, non-violence at all. But not everybody has reached his level. So there will be people who have a sense of self, want to defend yourself for whatever reason, you still have some unfinished tasks, right? Then you need to defend yourself. Okay, next. I'm not sure, can you see the screen clearly? No, Maybe it's open. We see lots of rectangle blocks around. Maybe your Zoom icon is around. Okay, we still can see one rectangular block, but never mind. Okay, so after self-defense, we talk about something bigger, warfare. There's normally, if let's say warfare between countries or groups, one will claim to be the innocent party or the defender, one will be the attacker or the wrongdoer. So we have all these kinds of narratives, right? So what is the so-called more modern Buddhist communities or so-called Buddhist engagement with war? So clearly the original Buddhist teaching, the Buddha himself, is promoting pacifism and no attacking. But we know there's lots of war going on, sometimes in the name of Buddhism, even though the Buddha never teach war and violence. Okay, so for example, in the case of Japan, samurais were these devotees of Zen Buddhism. So in Zen Buddhism got a foothold in Japan, and various arguments sustained them. Killing a man about to commit a dreadful crime was an act of compassion. For example, such reasoning surfaced again when Japan mobilized for World War II. So they were teaching the pilots to kamikaze, and they applied the teachings wrongly and so on. So one good example in the so-called ancient era is the Sohei period. These monk warriors wielded weapons and spears, and they fought for wars. So these were in the past. So the World War II is so slightly more recent, but also in the past. So what is this teaching, that so-called teaching that out of compassion can kill people? Okay, next slide. Okay, so this one is in Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism. So there's the Jataka story of this sailor. In the Buddha, in his past life, was this boat captain, and when he was still practicing Bodhisattva, he managed through his maybe psychic abilities, is able to identify like a terrorist. And this terrorist is plotting to kill all the passengers on board, maybe hundreds of passengers on board. So this Bodhisattva, to prevent this from happening, killed this terrorist beforehand. So that's a story. But of course, the story will tell that by the act of killing, he will be reborn in the hell realm. He performed some unwholesome karma, but sometimes this story is taken out of context, and then people say, okay, we use this story, Buddhism encourage killing and go for war. So again, there's a difference in the Theravada and Mahayana canon. So you cannot find this story in the Theravada Jatakas, so only in the Mahayana Jatakas. Okay, next. So same for Shaolin Kung Fu. So Shaolin also fought for wars during different eras. So you can read from here, Li Shimin against the warlord Wang Shichong. So they fought, and the Shaolin monks went to help. So next. So because Buddhism get involved in all these wars and politics, and then different emperors, some will favor Buddhism, some will persecute Buddhism because they take sides. So in the Buddha's time, Buddha never takes sides. 7 kingdoms, they are fighting each other, and all of them can visit the Buddha, talk to the Buddha never takes sides. So that's the Buddha's stance. Okay, so for Theravada Buddhism, even though our scripture never promote warfare, but somehow there will still be people try to dig out some chronicles. That means the history of Buddhism spreading. So they take those historical accounts to justify warfare. So that's actually long after the Buddha passed away. Those great chronicles. So according to these chronicles, one of the famous king, this Dutu Gamanu, want to unify this island of Sri Lanka. Then he wanted to go to war to unify the country, so he put this Buddhist relic in his spear, then took 500 monks and to wage war against another kingdom. So after he killed the opponents, then the so-called monks with him console the king. So these people, the victims were slain, are like animals, who make the Buddha's faith shine. So this statement, although not appropriate, maybe out of context, maybe the monks afraid the king will execute them, so they might make certain statements. Whatever it is, the context is taken out of context to wage war. So Theravada Buddhist countries use this particular historical account. So Burmese rulers or the Thai kings, when they wage war with each other, they will use this to justify themselves. Okay, next. Okay, then we talk about pacifism. There's also a kind of extreme pacifism. So like in the case of this self-immolation in Vietnam, a monk, when he was protesting, light himself on fire, sat there meditating, and ended his life. So this is the so-called protest. So of course, in Buddhism, or at least from my point of view, I don't encourage this. We consider taking your own life as part of killing, so please do not do that. I think even His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he also made a comment that some Tibetan protesters that also tried to do self-immolation when protesting against China. He was also commenting, after you burn yourself, also the same like that. And China is not going to stop or anything. So burning yourself may not be an effective kind of protest. Okay, next. Okay, so what is the Buddha's teaching on soldiers and killing? Warfare and killing. So there's this sutta on soldiers. So there's this story of this Yodajiva. So he approached this blessed one, approached the Buddha. Then he's the warrior clan. So in the Buddha's time, there were different caste system. There's like the warrior caste. So it's like the soldier caste. So the Buddha is also part of the warrior caste. So probably this Yodajiva find the Buddha approachable, and he might think that the Buddha will approve of his warrior lifestyle, because now the Buddha is this religious clergy, holy man, and being the same caste, he should approve of the warrior fighting and killing, right? So he asked the question to the Buddha. He believed this lineage, in this concept. When a warrior strives and exerts himself in battle, if others then strike him down and slay him while he is striving and exerting himself in battle, then with the breakup of the body after death, he is reborn in the company of devas slain in battle. Very similar to other cultures like the Valhalla in some other mythology. Very similar. What does the Blessed One have to say about that? So the Buddha do not want to answer. Enough, hate man, put that aside. Do not ask me that. The Buddha don't want to upset his feeling. Don't want to answer. Then this person, Yodajiva, very insistent, keep asking second time. The Buddha for second time don't want to answer. please do not ask this question. For the third time he asked, okay, then the Buddha eventually, normally after third time he'll answer. So the next slide. So the Buddha said, okay, since you're so insistent, here's the answer. That means you're ready to take some criticism. So I will simply answer you. When a warrior strives and exerts himself in battle, his mind is already seized, debased, and misdirected by the thought. May these beings be struck down or slaughtered or annihilated or destroyed. May they not exist. If others then strike him down and slay him while he is thus striving and exerting himself in battle, then with the breakup of the body after death, he is reborn in the hell called the realm of those slain in battle. So instead of heaven, the Buddha says hell, because there's a thought of wanting to destroy. So that is the Buddha's answer. So that is the first point, and I break up to 2 points. So the first point is, if the soldier is executing this action while thinking, that means really carrying out. While the second point talks about just having the view only. So, but if he holds such a view, when a warrior strives and exerts himself in battle, if others then strike him down and slay him while he is striving and exerting himself in battle, then with the breakup of the body after death, he is reborn in the company of devas slain in battle. That is, if he has this wrong view, that killing others in battle will be reborn in this heaven. Now, there are two destinations for such a person with wrong view. Either hell or animal womb. So also lower realm. So the first one, the first point, the first paragraph, talks about actual killing. That means the person actually go to battle and kill and having the thought of wanting to destroy. Then confirm hell. Then the second one is only have the view only, that killing others will make you go to heaven. So this one will be reborn in either hell or animal womb. So the Buddha's answer is this. So very pacifist teaching. Okay, next. So at the end, the soldier cried. This Yoda Jiva cried, and then tried to turn over a new leaf. Took refuge from the Buddha. Okay, so again, monastic rules, because in order not to get involved with warfare, the Buddha actually encouraged the monks to stay far away from the army. Yeah, so we have a few rules. So the first precept we have, watching a field army or similar large military force on active duty, unless there is a suitable reason, is an offense, pacitya offense. So this pacitya offense is basically a confessionable offense. Not a disrobing offense. That means a monk commit this mistake, still can confess and make amends. Okay, then the second rule, staying more than 3 consecutive nights with an army on active duty, even when one has a suitable reason to be there, is an offense, pacitya offense. So basically we can watch with a suitable reason, but we cannot stay overnight. More than 3 nights. That means you get too involved in the army. Then the last one, lagi verse. Going to a battlefield, a roll call, an array of the troops in battle formation, or to see a review of the battle units while one is staying with an army is a pacitya offense. So these are the 3 precepts that among the many precepts the monks have. Okay, next. Okay, so how do the Buddha himself personally handle warfare? So there are few accounts, a few battles took place in the Buddha's lifetime, or at least the Buddha was there to or mentioned in the scriptures. So the first one was this war, previous slide, was a war between the Kolyans and the Sakyans. That means basically the Buddha's hometown, Sakyan clan, and the Kolyan clan. So the Kolyan clans is basically his mother's side. and the mother belonged to the Kolyan kingdom. The Buddha's father, King Suddhodana, is from the Sakyan clan. So both kingdoms were about to wage a war over a river. The river is about to dry up, and they are fighting for this resource. So two armies are forming at each side of the bank, about to fight, and the Buddha kind of stopped them. The Buddha asked the representative, the spokesman of each side, which is thicker, blood or water? That means the blood ties they have, the blood relationship they have over the years, or the water. So they thought about it, and they were thinking, blood is thicker than water. So they decided not to fight. So the Buddha stopped wars. So the Buddha is also promoting this, nowadays they call this humanitarian Buddhism or humanism. What's the term called? Chopin, do you know? Humanistic Buddhism, Humanistic Buddhism. So in the Buddha's time, he was already engaged in this kind of social engagement to prevent warfare. So there are a few other accounts. Some of the wars, of course, he didn't manage to succeed stopping. Like eventually the Sakyan clan got destroyed by another kingdom, by the Kosalan kingdom, due to personal vendetta. One of the kings was not happy because he was the son of untouchable. He was, have these discrimination issues, and even though he was intermarried into another kingdom, after he became a king in that kingdom, he sent armies to destroy the Sakyan clan for years of bringing him this shame and discrimination. So there's other issues also. Okay, so the next slide talks about another war, supposedly war in progress, and talks about social defense, how the Buddha prevented other countries from succumbing and downfall through war. So social defense. Next. Also part of the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the last days of the Buddha. Next slide. So this story talks about the king of Magadha, one of the bigger kingdoms. So this King Ajatasattu. So this figure, this King Ajatasattu, was also the fella plotting with Venerable Devadatta to want to overthrow or kill the father, King Bimbisara, and overthrow the Buddha or kill the Buddha. But eventually this Venerable Devadatta kind of died, so he has no one to turn to, so now he has faith in the Buddha. So this King Ajatasattu decided to send his advisor to ask the Buddha's opinion on how to conquer a certain country. The Buddha supposedly very well known for his honesty and truthfulness. So I'll just read out. So he decided to wage war against the Vajis. He spoke in this fashion: "These Vajis, powerful and glorious as they are, I shall annihilate them. I shall make them perish. I shall utterly destroy them." Addressed his chief minister, the Brahman Vasakara, saying, "Come, Brahman, go to the Blessed One, I go to the Buddha, pay homage in my name at his feet, wish him good health, strength, ease, vigor, and comfort, and speak thus: O Lord, Ajatasattu, the king of Magadha, desires to wage war against the Vajis. He has spoken in this fashion: These Vajis, powerful and glorious as they are, I shall annihilate them. I shall make them perish. I shall utterly destroy them. And whatever the Blessed One should answer you, keep it well in mind and inform me, for the Tathagatas do not speak falsely." So basically, he wants info on how to conquer and destroy these Vajis. Okay, next. Okay, so this Vasakara managed to approach the Buddha and did whatever the king told him, and this is what the Buddha responded. At that time, the Venerable Ananda was standing behind the Blessed One, fanning him. Last time there's no electric fan, so somebody has to manually fan the Buddha. And the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Ananda thus: "What have you heard, Ananda? Do the Vajis have frequent gatherings, and are their meetings well attended?" "I have heard, Lord, that this is so. So long, Ananda, as this is the case, the growth of the Vajis is to be expected, not their decline." So this is talking more on social defense. So if you have a person got this frequent gathering, do not segregate apart, the people are united, then their growth is to be expected. Then the second question the Buddha asked Ananda. So the Buddha do not want to answer this Vasakara, the chief minister, directly, because it will be like the Buddha promoting warfare. So the Buddha do not want to promote warfare, so it's like indirectly telling this minister Vasakara that no, this certain country is so strong because they follow this criteria. So the next point, Vajis assemble and disperse peacefully and attend to their affairs in concord. So their growth is to be expected. So if you gather frequently is one thing, but if you gather frequently and keep fighting and arguing, then no point, right? So you need to gather frequently but also be harmonious. So you gather and disperse peacefully. So that's the second criteria. The third criteria, Vajis neither enact new decrees nor abolish existing ones, but proceed in accordance with their ancient constitution. So basically following tradition, not suka-suka, anyhow change and create confusion amongst the citizens. So this will leave one to be united, because this will leave a generational kind of fault line. So if you do something to the older generation and do something different to a newer generation, you create lots of problem also. Okay, next. So the Vajis show respect, honor, esteem and veneration towards the elders and think it's worthwhile to listen to them. So basically respect to elders and seniors. So this is basically a most, I think, Asian culture or tradition. So they respect the elders. So this will lead to their welfare and strengthen them. And the next point, the Vajis refrain from abducting women and maidens of good families and from detaining them. So somehow, in the ancient days, in the Buddha's time, this was a common thing, abducting women. So the Buddha also mentioned part of the right livelihood, not to trade in human lives, not to trade in living things. So one of them is human trafficking. So people abduct women, they have slave trading. It is mentioned in the scriptures, they are slaves in the Buddha's time. So the Vajis refrain from these kinds of unwholesome acts. Then the next one, Vajis show respect, honor, esteem and veneration towards their shrines, both those within the city and those outside, and do not deprive them of due offerings as given and made to them formally. So basically respect to religious institution, religious place of worship, religious shrines, regardless of whatever faith. So this is the part of the social kind of harmony. So regarding the having slaves, then you create certain discrimination amongst the community. You are slave or not slave, then you have different rights and so on. Then the last point, Vajis duly protect and guard the Arahants, so that those who have not come to the realm yet might do so, and those who have already come might live there in peace. So basically the religious practitioners can stay peacefully, won't get harassed or attacked by the citizens there. So basically a peaceful and conducive environment for religious practitioners or religious clergy to stay there. So in the case for the Buddhist clergy, let's say the Arahants or enlightened beings, they are very welcome to stay in the kingdom of Vaji. Okay, next. So these are the 7 conditions of welfare for a nation. So hopefully you can, apply in your homes, in your community, or in your country. And Blessed One addressed the Brahman Vasakara in these words. So now the Buddha directly speak to this Vasakara, this chief minister. Once Brahman, I dwelt at Vesali, at the Sarananda shrine, and there it was that I taught the Vajis these 7 conditions, leading to a nation's welfare. So the Buddha is like telling them, okay, I personally went there to endorse their welfare. So long, Brahman, as these endure among the Vajis, and the Vajis are known for it, their growth is to be expected, not their decline. Thereupon the Brahman Vasakara spoke thus to the Blessed One, if the Vajis, Venerable Gautama, were endowed with only one or another of these conditions leading to welfare, their growth would have to be expected, not their decline. What then of all the 7? So it's a bit hard to conquer their country, even if they just practice one of these 7. No harm indeed can be done to the Vajis in battle by Magadha's king, Ajatasattu, except through treachery or discord. Well then, Venerable Gautama, we will take our leave, for we have much to perform, much work to do. So of course, historically down the line, this Magadhan kingdom will eventually eat up all the kingdoms in India and conquer everything. So there is many generations down the line, and eventually this King Asoka will be the so-called one to unify India. Okay, next. Okay, so I shall end my sharing for today. So the next few slides will talk about welfare for the Buddhist practitioner, the Buddhist community, how to ensure their unity and growth. So I shall just end here for today and open the floor for Q&A.
Venerable, maybe I'll start off with a question.
Okay.
Can you please help me understand what would be the karma of a person who enjoys watching army and war scenes on TV? Like there's a channel that is specifically dedicated to it, and he watches it on a daily basis. Is there a consequence like to the health? Because he has a weird health condition that is, he always has this nausea and wanting to vomit. So I was wondering, is there a connection in a way?
I would believe a lot of the army and warfare kind of programs, you need to watch it with right motivation, right intention, and right discernment. So that is very important. So the reflection is very important. So you don't watch to support the killing, but to understand the sufferings and eventually practice compassion and detachment.
Oh, okay. Right. Bhante, another question. Another one is about being passivity at the workplace. So in terms of being passive, what if, for example, you are asked to step down from a post, either directly or indirectly? So should we actually will want to speak to higher ups to hold on, or it's like, okay, this is due to cause and effect, it's time to move on to another position, and then we just step down? And also if we are asked to take on more tasks, what of being passive should we be? Because you want to please the higher ups, you take on the post instead of saying no, because you'll be seen as being defensive or not being positive enough. Could you please help me and understand? Thank you.
Okay, so this one again, I do not know the specific context, but, but again, in Buddhism, when we talk about for a lay person, if you need to make a livelihood, you need to support yourself or support your family. So it's important to, we call it work hard. That means work hard for your livelihood, but make sure it's an honest livelihood. So for whatever project or position you're in, make sure you practice honesty. That means you really know what you are doing. If there's somebody else that's more suitable for the role, then I think if let's say you're really have the company's kind of welfare in mind, the bigger picture in mind, then you should let the other person take up that post. But if let's say you are more qualified to take up that particular post, then you should continue and probably explain your reason and position. And if let's say you're being asked to step down due to just reasons, if let's say it's a just kind of reason for you to step down, the person that proposed to you makes a good reason, then you should take it into consideration. But if let's say it's not a good reason, if it's unwholesome, then you should probably make your stance.
Alright. Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone with further questions, you can unmute and ask Bhante directly, or you can type it into the chat.
So there's a lot of misunderstanding on non-self. So non-self doesn't mean, okay, everything give way. Yeah, in the workplace, everything give way. So this one, again, doesn't require really much of self-defense. There's no physical attack. So it's more on understanding, like defending a position. If it's just, you should defend. And make sure your motivation is right. Make sure the intention is right. Because if you let the unjust take over, then you have all the unjust people taking over your organization. Then the whole organization will eventually crumble.
Okay, questions, maybe Ming Hui?
Yeah, hi Bhante.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to check, Bhante, what's your advice, like what we should think during the death moment? Because just now we're talking about stepping, or that, let's say, unfortunately, accident happen, or we are attacked. I think fear and anger maybe is normal. Then, other than the usual, like, hopefully our practice is good enough, like, we still think of well and happy or impermanence. Yeah, but I know Bhante's advice, like what should we do and think during that moment? Yeah.
Okay, very good question. You seem to be asking all the questions beforehand, the topics we're going to discuss in future. Yeah, you have like some kind of predictive ability or something. So anyway, the minimum requirement, if let's say you already have like certain practice that you're familiar with, then by all means use that practice to make you enter calm easily. So that would be the first choice. But if you do not have, then the minimum, recollect the triple gems.
Recollect the triple gems, okay.
Yep.
If recollect something good that we do before is also fine, right? Let's say some good things that we done. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Can we also try to think that like this life, at least we have keep the precepts well, then the rebirth should not be the too bad one, so like just 放心 go something like that.
Yes, that is also part of the recollection. So that particular teaching is taught to this person Mahanama, which I was mentioning earlier. So the Mahanama is the one that has a fear, has this uncertainty, fear which realm he is reborn in the next life. So the Buddha taught him 6 recollections. So the first recollection is to recollect the Buddha in whatever situation you're in, or the next one, recollect the Dhamma. And if not, you can recollect the Sangha, or if not, you can recollect your precepts, like what you mentioned, the precept that kept purely, then your kind of I won't say proud, but at least you are, no, you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Then the fifth one, recollect on your good deeds, or the charitable deeds you've done, or all kind of good deeds you've done. And the sixth one, recollect on the deva qualities.
Okay. The four supplying states is considered the deva's qualities, right?
There's some link but different. So the recollection of deva qualities is basically for those who understand the law of the different devas, the LORE law, the stories of the different devas, who grown up listening to the stories of heavenly beings. If they have certain faith in certain deities, certain heavenly beings, then they have to recollect how are they reborn there. Because there are certain traits, certain good qualities, that's why they are reborn there. So to recollect on those good qualities. So there's a trend. So basically the 6 recollection are basically recollecting good qualities.
Okay.
And the 6th recollection is very inclusive. So a person can be of another religion maybe. So they can recollect on their God or whatever deity they worship. They have certain good qualities. They can keep recollecting those good qualities.
Okay. Thank you, Bante.
Okay.
Bante, there's a question in the chat. What is the karma cause of becoming a victim of violence? And should victims pursue justice or accept and end the karmic debt?
Okay. Very good question. So the one Judy asking. Okay, so again, depends on the level of self or non-self you have kind of experience. If there is a need to defend yourself, by all means. So like again, let's say there's a case of maybe domestic violence or violence, if it's got like stepping too far, like in the Singapore context, you can call the police. If it's too violent, right, you have harm or injury. But if let's say you can talk to the person and the person can calm down and change, that would be the ideal case. But if cannot, then the last resort is report to the police. But in terms of self-defense, I wouldn't encourage you to attack the person. But if let's say like in terms of self-defense, like to hit away the weapon or to push them away so they can escape, so that would be at least acceptable in the Buddhist context. But even talk about karma, a bit hard to explain karma, because I cannot see your past life or most people cannot see their past life, so we do not know whether is it due to karma. So the proper understanding of karma is basically to accept the situation. If let's say if all else fails, at least the mind won't live in regret. So use the concept of karma to make peace in the situation. So that's how to apply karma. But if all else, other solution works, you can talk to the attacker, the assailant. You can talk them down, prevent them from attacking you. By all means, you try all methods. Alright, hopefully that answers the question. Any other questions?
Okay, Bante, Evelyn has a question.
Okay.
Hello, Bante. So just now you covered the part whereby Buddha say what are the things that we need to follow for a nation to flourish. So if I were to apply it to a workspace setting, the part on not removing existing rules and not creating new rules, what is the modern application for this part of the rule?
Okay, so the context would be whatever values in that constitution that brings about success to this day. So if let's say all the while it works, then you suddenly change and then downfall, people will blame you. You go and change for what? But if it works, then just leave it lah.
Don't fix what is not broken.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? No questions, all okay, all very peaceful, very harmonious. You know who's the martial artist? I saw somebody thumbs up earlier. Did you learn any knife defense or anything?
Monday, can I jump in to ask a question?
Okay.
I'm not sure how to put across this question, but in the earlier sharing that you did, there's this slide titled Unhabitual Habits, and one of the pointers goes on the theatrical performances. So I have this question about how do we balance like observing our precepts while going to attend some theatrical performances or concerts. Why I'm asking this is because my background is a lot in arts and culture, and I've been in the arts and culture scene for close to 2 decades. Now that I'm out from the sector, but I still go to watch performances as a form of, because watching performances to me, it's a form of de-stressing. Sometimes I'm watching some arts shows, it gives me some sort of an inspiration which I can bring back to apply to my current course of work. So while observing precepts, how do I balance this, the entertainment element versus the part of me needing this de-stressing activity to help me to unwind down from my daily work, and as a form of recharging to give me inspiration to move on with my work?
Okay. Yeah, very good question. So for a layperson, there's no for those who are taking 5 precepts, there's no precept on entertainment. So yes, you can watch entertainment, engage in entertainment, but the point mentioned earlier is over excessive engagement and addiction to entertainment. So if that addiction leads to your harm, leads to your financial harm, family relationship harm, social life harm, then that would be a harmful kind of addiction. But if everything goes well, then okay, no problem.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay. Sometimes from maybe an arts point of view, artist point of view, they watch the theatre or play very different from ordinary audience. Ordinary audience just want to see violence, sex, or extreme drama, that kind of thing. But maybe for drama, playwright, writer or composer, they watch it very different angle. You want to understand what's the depth, the philosophy, the meaning. So it can be very different. Yeah. Okay, next. Any person? No, all okay. Today very short.
Yeah, just curious. Just now the last one, the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. So after Buddha's, I think his intention is about how to protect the village can grow. But I think the person asking took it wrongly. So in that case, I'm just curious because Buddha got the superpower. Then is it like better? Actually, Buddha keep quiet, don't answer, rather than lead to a bad situation. Just curious, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, the Buddha is very objective. The answer he gave was, as long as they follow those criteria, then they will flourish. So of course, historically, all kingdoms rise and fall. So somebody down the line, somebody in the chain of authority, maybe will be corrupted or whatever reason, then will lead to the decline and downfall.
And yeah, maybe from another point of view, if the original village, I forgot the name, if they are still keeping the quality so good that after village even try to attack also will not be successful, right? That's another view of seeing them. Okay. And then I understand why Buddha list out that 7 factors, so that like now we can refer. If you don't talk, we also don't know about the 7 good conditions. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Bante, is that like you mentioned there was a sutra that Buddha teaches us how to handle our riches. What about, is there a sutra that specifically talks about use at work, like principles that we should apply at work?
Yeah, so it's the same sutta, the Sigalovada Sutta. They talk about interpersonal relationship. How should an employee treat an employer? How should an employer treat an employee? Friends to friends, and etc. etc. Yeah. So there is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. So nowadays, people can Google, so you can take note of the name of that sutta, Sigalovada Sutta, then all the answers will be there.
Yeah, Bante, how about in the work situation that people like take advantage of us? Let's say there's a good idea that like internally when we discuss, I come out this good idea, then in the end the person like maybe propose as if this idea in the victims or something like that. So although I tell myself, no need to be so like 介意 about this, but I think sometimes still not there yet. Still will feel like not happy about it. So Bante, what's your advice like all this situation about work?
Yeah, so regardless of workplace or outside workplace, if they are toxic or unwholesome, they want to exploit you, then they are considered unwholesome people. So these are the people we should avoid.
Yeah, okay, because there's also another situation where the people, I think that's my point of view, right? Like because of jealousy, he says something to put me down in order to show he's better. So at that moment, I'm not too angry, but then I also about not happy about this situation. Yeah, I think maybe the best is to avoid. Like since I know he is this type of people, then maybe I should avoid. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So it's mentioned also in the Sigalovada Sutta. Some people may be false in guise of friends. They might say something nice in front of you, but at the back they try to bring you down and kind of stuff. So these are the people, if you know, then you should avoid them also. Yeah.